with my shirt. I don't wanna talk about that, 'cause I got the love of a beautiful woman. There's nothing's gonna take her place. She made me feel just like a natural born winner, but I'm not even in the race. That's why they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Never had a whole lot of money. I was never good at games and chance. When I'm playing cards with my buddies, where the money flies right out of my pants. Don't you know I got a little secret? It's the ace of hearts up my sleeve. And when I get home to my honey, she give me love like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. When I'm walking through my neighborhood, everybody knows I'm feeling good. See me smiling from my head to my feet. They say, ain't that Mr. Lucky coming down the street? Hey, that's me. I'm Mr. Lucky when you kiss my lips, when you touch me with your fingertips. I'm Mr. Lucky when you hold me tight. I'm Mr. Lucky when we kiss goodnight. Baby, they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. You know that's right. Baby, 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 baby.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking on your Tuesday? Hope it's a good one for you. Yeah, I'm telling you. Hey, did anybody watch the Grammys? First of all, rest in peace. Well, first of all, like, share, subscribe. If you want to donate, nobody has in weeks. PayPal.me, Tom Gully Show. There's Patreon. There's the merch store, you know, all sorts of stuff. But like, share, and subscribe, for crying out loud. You know, it don't cost nothing. Reverend Wild Bill is here. Changed his name back. All right, now I know who he is. Rest in peace, Toby Keith. Well, put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. Yeah. Jokerfish says, saw Joni Mitchell on the Grammys. Wow, Joni Mitchell is an institution. She's amazing. A good Facebook friend of mine who was an Indianapolis news anchor for, 25 years, countless Emmys, just an incredible journalist. Her favorite is Joni Mitchell. So let's see. Gully seriously has a mid to late 80s Filmation cartoon Villain name. Damn that gully. There's an episode of Monk that involves a character named Gully. It was an old prospector. And then there's another episode of, I want to say, Paladin. Have Gun Will Travel, where they say Gully like 15,000 times in it. So Sunday Jenna is here. Yeah. So, rest in peace, Toby Keith. If you didn't like him, if you did like him, I don't know. I prefer Trace Atkins, but I do like that Angry American video. Well, put a boot in your ass. Anyway, there was a band that performed at the Grammys that was up for a bunch of Grammys. I don't know how they did. Just to update things on how dumb I am on the air. And the band is called SZA, but it's spelled S-Z-A. Now, I'm used to the days of NWA, and, so I was saying S-Z-A in the Gen Xer behind the board that was technically producing the show. It's like, it's SZA. I had to apologize. Always good to see Sunday Jenna here. By the way, I did get to see some of Uncle Rico today. I gotta say, the frog is just brilliant. Today's package was brilliant. Randy Ramos is here. Chef is in the house. Randy, I have put feelers out into the Indianapolis media to try and help you find your brother Fred's Emmy-winning documentary. However, I have a suggestion. If you go to the contact page for WFYI, at the bottom, there's a place to contact the station. And if there's a drop-down menu, and one of those drop-downs says Community Engagements, I would use that one. And I would tell your story in as much detail as you can. And don't spare the horses on the heartstrings of we really would like this, nephews and beloved family members. But that's what I have for you so far. I'm going to keep working on it for you though. But I did put a feeler out today on Facebook to a bunch of people. So anyway, Sook says Shaggy removes the Tom Gully mask only to reveal Tom Gully. Yes. Sunday Jenna saying hi to folks. You got the RZA from Wu-Tang. There used to be a Wu-Tang Clan name generator on the internet. I don't know if there still is. Jokerfish says Team Frog. Yes, Team Frog. Well, you gotta love the frog. Thank you, sir. Don't mention it. Don't mention it. Happy to do it. Sunday Jenna with some emojis that are, in favor of her husband. Anyway, like I was saying, like, share, subscribe. It don't cost you nothing. We'd like to get another PayPal donation before I die. PayPal.me, Tom Gully Show. And it's in the crawl, the whole show. So, and then Patreon, $3 a month or something. And of course, there's the merch store. The merch store at the TomGullyShow.com, where all those podcasts are at. And then it's like 270 of them. And then you could also go to cafepress.com/The Tom Gully Show. And then like, share, subscribe. For the love of God. Check that baby out. So there you are. There you are. What else we got here? Sunday Jenna is the nicest human in the Dabbleverse. She's a lovely lady, and we're glad to have her here. Silver Chair dedicated their first album after The Frog, says Sook. You know what I miss me? I miss me the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I need to play that album again. That thing, that thing, that thing. And rest in peace, Toby Keith. Truthfully, Brett, yes. Sunday says she does appreciate it. I've noticed a lot of increases in Rocky and Creed reaction videos since the passing of Carl Weathers this weekend. Brett Hollywood with the thumbs up. So, we got a hell of a show planned for you. I'm surprised nobody has, and this is a, Wild Bill will remember this. This is another, I started thinking because we played some songs and some sound clips that used to be staples of this show before we retooled it. And one of the things used to be, I used to wear my goalkeeper jerseys quite frequently. Some of them are quite flamboyant, like this one. Whoops. There we go. I think I'm going to do that here more often. Bust some of those babies out. But let me tell you about the world's worst girlfriend slash wife slash significant other in the history of mankind on Earth. Very worst. Happens to be a serial killer, female serial killer, which, that's not all that common, right? Belle Gunness. Good old Belle Gunness. I'll tell you right now, behind me on the wall right now, on my wall, is the LaPorte County History Museum's tribute. As you can see over to my right, I can't, yeah, right. Let's see if I can, right there. It says Belle Gunness. And I think the worst thing about it is the doll that they were, whatever, Belle Gunness there in the background. Belle Gunness, not what we would call a looker. Here's Belle with her 2 daughters and her son. I wouldn't get used to seeing them, really. I don't think. Belle wasn't just unkind to her husbands and boyfriends. Family members were family members were also on the charts for her. Belle Gunness was born Brunhild Paulsdatter Storeth over there in Norway. Now, when she was a kid, she worked on the farm, milking cows, herding cattle, doing all the things Norwegians do to make enough money to go to New York City. So she was born in 1859, but she moved to the U.S. in 1881 and changed her name to Belle instead of Brunhild, which, of all the things that this horrible woman did, that was probably the smartest one. And so she moved to Chicago, okay? And she did a bunch of this stuff in Chicago. She ended up moving to Indiana, LaPorte, Indiana, which is up near Chicago. But she was 5'7", weighed about anywhere from 210 to 250 pounds, depending. She would fluctuate. She lived with her sister and her brother-in-law in Chicago at first, worked as a domestic servant, but then, this is important, she got a job at a butcher shop cutting up animal carcasses. There you go. So at some point in time or another, she marries this guy named Mads Sorensen, and they had a candy store. And get used to this, the candy store later burned to the ground. And then their house also burned to the ground. And each time this happened, they got insurance payouts for that. Now, 2 babies inside the Gunnesses' home that burned down died from inflammation of the large intestine, which can result from poisoning. Belle had insured both of the children and collected a very large insurance check on each death. And neighbors gossiped about these babies because Belle apparently was never visibly pregnant, although given her build, yeah. So Mads, her husband, had purchased 2 life insurance policies. So on July 30th, 1900, both of the policies they just coincidentally were active at the same time, because one was on its last day and the other was on its first day. One policy was ending and they overlapped by a day. Now, he died of a cerebral hemorrhage on that very day. Belle said that he had come home with a headache and she gave him some quinine powder for pain, and she later checked on him and he was dead. She collected money, of course, from both of the insurance policies, making a total of about $5,000, which in 1900 was a lot of money. So with that in money, she bought a pig farm in LaPorte, Indiana. Now, just 2 years later, she married Peter Gunness. That's how she got her last name. And the following week, while he was gone, just a week after they got married, his infant daughter died of unknown causes while Belle was watching her. Peter himself, Peter Gunness, he died 8 months later due to a skull injury, and that'll, happen a lot as well. Belle explained that Peter was reaching for something on a high shelf and a meat grinder fell on him, smashing his skull. They convened a jury suspecting murder, but nothing came of it, and she collected $3,000 for his death. Now, Belle began placing marriage ads. This was common back in the day in Chicago newspapers about 1905. One of her ads was answered by a farmer from Wisconsin named Henry Gerholt. There's a picture of Henry. After he traveled to LaPorte, he wrote his family, said he liked the farm, he was in good health, everything was great, and he requested they send him some seeds, and when they failed to hear from him after that, they contacted Belle, and she said he'd gone off with some horse traders to Chicago, but she did have his trunk and his fur overcoat. So a guy named John Moe of Minnesota answered Belle's ad in 1906, and after they corresponded back and forth, Moe traveled to LaPorte and got a bunch of cash out of the bank, and nobody ever saw him again. Although a carpenter that used to work for Belle said that he saw Moe's trunk, and he saw about a dozen other trunks. Now, it is widely believed because of her ad and because of the fact that she ran kind of a bed and breakfast. If people were coming through LaPorte, they'd say, this lady outside of town's got a pig farm. She'll put you up for the night. Apparently, there was like a dinner table, and they always seated the person at the dinner table, at the head of the table. Behind them, there was a curtain. And behind that curtain, there was various boxes and stored items and things. And Belle apparently would dispatch these dudes by hitting them in the back of the head with an axe or something heavy and keep all their stuff. Okay. Now, her criminal activities came to light in 1908 when, wait for it, her farmhouse burned to the ground. In the ruins of this farmhouse, they found the bodies of a headless adult woman who they identified as Belle Gunness, because who else would it be, and her 3 children that you saw in this photo here. Okay. Further investigation, well, let's just get to that. Let's just get to that in a second, because it's so weird. I'll get to you're not going to believe this next part, but after the fire, they found a bunch of bodies. How they did is what I'll tell you in a second. LaPorte police were contacted by a guy named Asley Helgelin, who had found correspondences between his brother Andrew and Belle. The letters included petitions for him to relocate to LaPorte, to bring money, and to keep his move a secret. So when his brother visited the farm with a former hired hand, they were looking around, and there was a soft depression in the earth in an area that was a pen for hogs. And after briefly digging into one of the depressions, they found a gunny sack that contained 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 head. And Azel Helgelin was able to identify the fact that the head belonged to his brother, Andrew. That alarmed a lot of people. Immediate inspection of the site revealed there were dozens of such soft depressions in the Gunness yard. Further digging and investigation at the site yielded multiple burlap sacks containing torsos and hands and arms hacked from the shoulders, masses of human bone wrapped in loose flesh. In each case, the body had been butchered in the same manner. Body decapitated, arms removed at the shoulders, legs severed at the knees. Blunt trauma and gashes characterized the skulls that were found that had been separated from the bodies. So after finding the parts of five... Oh, well, by the way, why don't we get to some of this great investigation? Here's the burnt remains of the home. Here's people sifting through all of the rubble there. Here's where like 9 bodies had been found. And they're just digging up corpses out of this yard. The perception of Belle... Okay, after finding 5 bodies on the first day, they found 6 on the second day, some in shallow graves under this hog pen, others near an outhouse or a lake. The police just stopped counting the bodies. With these discoveries, the perception of Belle Gunness, as reported in newspapers, a praiseworthy woman, a hard worker, owned her own farm. They'd originally said she died in the fire, desperately trying to save her children. And then they started rethinking this because another woman that was seen at the Gunness house with an additional, characteristic of she was a very stoutly built woman, just like Belle. She'd never been seen again. And of course, the body they found in the burned house had no head. How do you lose your head burning in a fire? Anyway, dozens of men that had gone missing, immediately said, hey, my brother got a letter from her. So this guy named Ray Lampier, and I'll just show you him right here, who was a hired hand and reportedly a lover of Belle's, and this is what your face looks like when you're hanging out with this chick. He was convicted in arson, connection with the fire at the Gunness house, and he later said everything. He confessed everything. He told them about the ads that had been placed and murdering and robbing all these guys, and that Gunness had asked him to burn the farmhouse down with their children inside. He also said that body that was in the house that everybody thought was Belle was not her and was planted there to mislead investigators. The brother of one victim had warned Belle that he might arrive at the farm to investigate his brother's disappearance. That was Helgelien, or whatever his name was. According to Ray Lampier here, the impending visit by Helgelien motivated Belle to destroy everything, fake her own death, and get out of there with all of her ill-gotten gains. So when Lampier was arrested, he was wearing John Moe's overcoat and Henry Gerholt's watch. Incidentally, these are some teeth that they found that they claim were Belle's teeth. And I don't know how they identified that. So anyway, there was a journalist that apparently that Ray Lampier here had told his story to that was much wider than the story he told police, and it was locked in a safe. And the publication of this resulted in a lot more arrests of accomplices, and there you go. So Belle Gunness was pronounced dead, even though the doctor who performed the postmortem testified the headless body was 5 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter than Belle. No explanation was provided for what happened to the body's head. Just, I don't know, just sometimes heads come off. Whether she died in the fire or escaped remained uncertain, although the sheriff blamed a newspaper for creating this escaped story. The common belief is that Belle Gunness got away with everything and escaped and was never heard of again. So she pretty much got away with everything. The farm became a tourist attraction. People came all from over the whole country to see these mass graves. Souvenirs, concessions were sold there. And, the LaPorte County Historical Society Museum has this lovely Belle Gunness exhibit there. There have been movies about Belle, loosely about her. One's called Method, starring Elizabeth Hurley in 2004. Elizabeth Hurley is way too hot to look anything like Belle Gunness. A true crime podcast, 2017, My Favorite Murder, performed and released a live episode detailing her crimes. The Farm, a 2021 film starring Tracy Lords, is based on the Belle Gunness story. And so there's been, quite a few things in the media about good old Belle Gunness. So, after watching the Shawnee Zone last night, I thought this might appeal to some of you conspiracy freaks out there. And there you go. There you go. There's the story of our good friend, Belle Gunness. Let's see here. Sunday Jenna says, the Dabbleverse is not a friendly place, but the Tom Gully Show is. You're darn right it is. You're doggone right. It's so friendly, I'm going to open up the phone lines here. Brett Hollywood says, Apollo was never a villain, cocky and justifiably so, but he was always a good dude and even congratulated Rocky after Rocky beat him. Apollo lifts Rocky's hand up after that, And I've watched these reaction videos like crazy since this weekend. And I'm a sucker for a Rocky film. I go directly to several points in the Rocky movies. The first movie, I don't really go anywhere. I've seen it. I know what happens. The second movie, I go to the scene where Adrian has fallen ill, and he and Mickey are in the chapel at the hospital. And Mickey is giving him the speech, you got a shot here, kid, the biggest title in the world. Why don't you fight this guy hard, like you did last time? It was beautiful. Not lay down like a mongrel. He says you were a freak. I think you're a hell of a lot more than that, kid. I think a hell of a lot more of you. But if you want to blow it, I'll sit here with you. I'll stay here with you. I'll pray. What do I got to lose? I go to that scene, and then I go to the scene where Adrian has come out of her coma and talking about what to name the kid. Paulie. Paulie's a good name. Name him after the father, blah, blah, blah. And I just want you to, Adrian says, I just want you to do one thing for me. Come here. Wind. Dun. The music comes on. Dun, 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 dun. Wind. Oh. And then at the end, yo, Adrian, I did it. I watch the fight usually. In Rocky 3, I go directly to the scene where Adrian and Rocky are on the beach, and Rocky admits he's afraid and that he doesn't think he deserved all those title wins, and that it was just another angle to keep the belt. And Adrian rips him a new one, Mickey, that was his job, He did what was expected of him, and you were a champion, and you did what was expected of him, and you think those fights were weren't legit? I don't think that. And then she gives him the whole, I think you can do it. Apollo thinks you can do it. The whole speech is incredible that she gives him. And then Rocky says, how'd you get to be so tough? And she says, I live with the fighter. Bam! And then the montage in your Rocky 4, I go directly to the fight scene where Rocky finally, he hits Drago and cuts him. And they go back to the corner, and Duke, Apollo's old trainer, you see that? He's just a man. You cut him. He's just a man. And you contrast that immediately with Drago's corner, and Drago saying he's not human. He's like a piece of iron. And it's just, and I don't know. The last one, Rocky Balboa, I think is just a brilliant movie. I was going through some, can I reclaim my former glory issues in my own life when that movie came out, and it was very, very inspirational. So, MTX. Oh, Mountain Dew. Was that what you're asking me about? I don't know. Oh, my ex sounds a lot like her. She could stop a clock. She looks like a cattle herder. You're darn right she does. Reverend Wild Bill says she didn't cotton much to people. Even her own family was fair game. Doesn't play well with others. Yeah. Mountain Dew Zero. She didn't want to ruin her hourglass figure. Stacey Allen says, oh my God, I actually read a book about this. I learned a lot about Stacey Allen during the Shawnee show yesterday. A lot. Let's see here. She looks like my great-grandpa. That's right. Grandpa, says you. Sook says the original Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. Lucas Malago says, when you start digging, who knows what you'll find? Sook says, yeah, they're sluicing for bones. Well, again, you guys think that I just tell you everything I know about this. One of the things the coroner mentioned in all of his reports was that most of the parts they found had snapped and fragments of bone everywhere. These were not surgical by any means. She doesn't sound Christian, says Ronnie Rollins. It was the Great Depression. We have to downsize. No, it was way earlier than that. It was in the 1908 when they finally burnt the house down. And she would have been at that time 48, 50 years old. The Eternal Simp, says Fishman5678. Don't know what you're referring to there, Fishman. We're not freaks, Gully. Well, look, I think I brought up what happened to Shelley Miscavige, the wife of the head of the Scientologists. That to me is a conspiracy. Some of the things that got mentioned yesterday, oh, there was a raid on Area 50. There was no raid. A bunch of people showed up. The U.S. military came out and go, hey, this may be a military installation that's in very little use right now. Planes can land on it. That's about it. But it is a U.S. military installation, and y'all ain't coming in here. And if you try, we'll show you that it's a military installation with military things like weaponry. Certain of them, I'm like, yeah. And by the way, if you're into these conspiracy things, I applaud you. Be into them. Don't ask me to be into them. Because 99% of these things, it's like, okay, they had the brains to pull off this amazing thing that's now the subject of a conspiracy, but they weren't smart enough to keep it a secret. I believe there are conspiracies. I just believe the real ones we'll never know about because they were smart enough to keep it a secret. And when I see some of the people that want me to believe what they're saying about the conspiracies, I go, man, I wouldn't believe you if you told me my tire was flat. Stacy is being laughed at by Sunday Jenna. Sorry, Tom, your Burgess Meredith kind of turned into Walter Brennan a little. I'm sorry, Hugh. It has to happen that way because it'll trash my voice. I don't know why you rock. I don't know why. There's also a few other moments as a sports guy, and nobody ever brings up my storied sports career on this show. I was thinking about that the other day. People bring up all sorts of really derogatory nonsense, but they never say, hey, Tom, what about that quadruple overtime match in the state playoffs that you shut out the other team in sudden death overtime and saved a penalty? None of that. What about that night in Cleveland that you know, what about that night in Dallas when you shut down the sidekick? What? No, never. Nothing beats a Rocky movie. Stacey Allen, I am a sucky, except for 5. I won't even watch 5. Won't even watch 5. Brett says, I'm a Rockyologist. Rocky 1 and 2 were legitimate films that were well written with substance. Rocky 3 and 4 are the greatest action films ever made. If you watch, especially 1, okay, 1 it's a brilliant movie, but Brett is correct. 3 and 4, they hyped up. They, really shot them full of steroids a little bit. But they're still awesome. 5 was just bad thinking. Rocky Balboa, the last movie, harkens back to that first one in its emotion and a lot of other things. It was the perfect send-off for Rocky as a fighter. Creed 2, I think, is the last time we'll see the Rocky character. And he was great in both of those Creed movies as well, which I also like. Terry Nee says, I saw Independence Day. I know what's going on here. Lyndon says, thanks for the story. First time hearing about her. Oh, yeah, look up Belle Gunness. There's tons of documentaries and everything else. Tom, you're getting a little Uncle Rico on your athletic history. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't bring it up all the time, I just mentioned it's interesting to me. Nobody else brings it up, because believe me, if I all of the dumb things I've ever done, yeah, those get brought up. Believe me. I am so tempted. On one of my podcasts, one of my soccer teammates started talking about, it was a guy I was interviewing for another reason. He's gone on to do great things in his field. And at the very end, I think it's time, because he told me, he goes, I want to tell people about what you were like playing college soccer. And I went, okay. And so during the show, I prompted him, and he did get into the insane amount of trash talk that I used to do to the other team. I don't remember whether it was, who was it we were playing? Trying to think here. I think maybe it was DePaul. We had a few small schools on our schedule. One was Earlham, one was Franklin, and one was DePaul. And DePaul actually was like Division III national champion. I mean, they thought they were good, but I remember at the very start of the game, and I was playing forward, but I was playing on the wing, and I was right on the sideline by the stands, and we kicked off, the ball went there in the field, and so I'm now the guy who's guarding me, supposed to guard me, was right close to me, and he's a dude that was probably about 5'7", and he was a little bit on the chubby side, and I started in on him. I mean, to their coach. It's like, hey, coach, you seriously going to put this guy on me? Tubby over here? That's not going to work out very well for you. And this guy started getting real mad at me, and I started doing the, is your mom here? Is your mom here? Because, I'm going to do bad things. You better go send her for a Coke or something, because it's not going to be, yeah. So, yes, I am getting a little Uncle Rico. Just a little. But I'm done with that now. Of course, if you guys ask, I'll tell you. But 972-994-6822 is the number to call if you'd care to. But, yeah, I'm a sucker for a Rocky movie, I'll tell you what. I tend to, on reaction videos, there is a show that I love, I'll go ahead and plug it here, called Popcorn in Bed. And a young lady, she's from Canada, and she's just so innocent. And her sister is on with her sometimes, and she's just so darn innocent, and anything violent freaks her out and stuff. But I love watching her reaction videos. So I'll watch the whole thing if I like the movie of hers. I like watching reaction videos because I don't have to watch the whole movie. But a lot of them, I just go to the parts of the movie that I like. Terry Nee says, love talk we were allowed to do back in the day. Oh man, I used to write stuff on the bottom of my shoes, and I would show the guy guarding me at the start of the match. This was when I was not playing. My first 2 years at Ball State, I played goalkeeper. My last 2 years, I played forward. So, which is pretty amazing. Ask a soccer dude; they'll tell you how amazing that is. But I would actually show them. I'm like, hey, man, I wrote some stuff on the bottom of my shoes so you'd have something to read when I dust your ass. I would say these things. It was fun. I had lots of fun. So, anyway. Lucas Malago says, speaking of trash talking, was there a consideration of hosting a program? What do you mean? A program? Like the Jack Benny program? I don't understand the question. Tekken Forces says, good evening, Tom. You are going to be a guest solo host on Pod Opal's show in the future. It would be amazing. I don't think the folks at Pod Awful would want me to be a guest solo host. Now, I have been a guest on a show, and Pod Awful has been on my show. I think we did 7 hours one time. I think we did 6 hours one time. These were long shows. It says he means Jesse's show. Yeah, hosting, I didn't know that was an option. If I was approached to do that, I'd have to see what he wanted done, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think Jesse is pretty much aware of the things I will and will not do. So that's on him, but I wouldn't be opposed to him. Wouldn't be opposed to it at all. But let's see. I think you should do it. You're a very likable personality. You can literally do anything in your heart. Well, I don't know what that's all about, so I'd have to find. Excellent. It is a pure hosting gig. Why wouldn't he be doing it? I'm surprised to hear that he would give up the reins on that, but if for some reason he can't do it for a while or just wants somebody else to do it, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's a little more difficult now that I'm at the big fancy radio station all weekend. But I guess I'm so tired on Sunday nights. But I can honestly say that having been in Discord with many of the people in the cult, the Pod Awful cult, I would count some of them as friends and good people. And I've got no problem with that. There's a few of them that are still real turds, though. So, yes. Yes. One of my later goalkeeper jerseys. That's the whole Rocky thing. I mean, how can you not get excited about a Rocky movie? When they're on, I watch them every single time. I love all the characters. Paulie, I love. Mickey is great. I mean, it's just wonderful. And I think that's a series, too, that you don't think of it this way, but they were not afraid to get rid of a character. And when they did, it had the most impact ever. When Mickey died, huge impact. Huge impact. When Apollo died, huge impact. The Rocky Balboa movie, the last one, that movie could arguably be called his reaction to Adrian dying. Because all the reaction videos I see with the millennials who've watched, the movies in order, when they find out she's not on it at the beginning and that they see her name on the gravestone, it freaks them out. They can't even believe it. So, Suk says, most of my friends are psychopaths. I have a few like that too. I mentioned it the other day, and I'll mention it again. I have friends that I don't agree with a lot of the things they do, and the whole political world we live in now. I don't care what your politics are. I really don't. I want to know about you as a person. What's your character like? There were people who came out after one of the last two elections, and I just went, whoa, I didn't know that's what you thought. We've been friends for 30 years. I didn't know that was living back there, but whatever. I'm not going to throw away that friendship over politics. Politics used to be like religion. It was somewhat distasteful to talk about that stuff unless it was brought up and mutually agreed, but now it's everything. Stacey Allen says, Beverly Hills Cop is another movie I can't change if it's on, like Rocky. Okay, here's mine. Hoosiers, Shawshank Redemption, Blues Brothers movie, Outlaw Josie Wales. Any of those are on, I'm watching it. I'm watching it. Terry, Adrian died? Thanks, man. Oh, sorry. Oh, you don't care about that, but you call QTNs like me freaks. I didn't say you were a freak. I didn't say everybody was a freak, but there was some freaks in that room. There's certain people that are like, you know, the reason this pen is made this way is because the Illuminati, and I'm just like, I'm out. I'm out. The whole thing about the moon landing, when I hear people talk about that, I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to you. I really don't. And some of the JFK ones, I don't know what to say to you. Some of the 9/11 ones, I don't know what to say to you. There's elements of all that stuff that I can go, okay, I can see where maybe a conspiracy, but some of it gets, when they start telling me that the plane that crashed into the Pentagon was landed in Ohio, I'm like, well, then what happened to all the passengers? Did they execute them? They just executed all those people? Is that it? I don't know what to say. Randy Ramos says, I remember the day when people would be able to sit around and talk about politics. I do too. Have you seen the movie Cobra with Stallone? One of his most underrated movies. Cobra is incredible. I love Cobra. First of all, the car in that is amazing, but you're the disease and I'm the cure. Cobra was kind of like Rambo as a cop or something. What's wrong with being a freak? I represent that. Oh. Stacy and Wild Bill. Wild Bill, Stacy is into the ghost stuff, the paranormal ghost stuff. Just talk amongst yourselves. Because Wild Bill is extremely knowledgeable about it. He guests on shows about that and stuff. And that's why he's the Reverend Wild Bill, by the way. Hold on. What did the Illuminati have to do with that pen, Tom? Don't leave us hanging like that. Oh, well, in case you didn't know, this clip is an ancient druid symbol for mind control. Hell yeah, brother, says Tekken Forces. Stacey Allen says, how is the hole in the Pentagon dozens of feet smaller than the plane that allegedly crashed into it? Do you really want me to get into that? Do you really want me to get into that? Why would you think that the body of an aircraft, which has been designed to be light and not like a missile, why would you think that the hole would be the shape of that? Why wouldn't you believe that that would disintegrate? The outside of the Pentagon. Now, I'll throw you an olive branch. Everybody goes, well, they only had one view of it coming in, and it was from a parking camera or whatever. No, I think they probably have views of that plane hitting the Pentagon, multiple views of it. They're not going to release that and go, hey, enemies of the United States, here's where we keep our cameras. They're just not going to do it. Never going to happen. But I do believe they exist. Bar rules, no politics, no religion topics discussed. Exactly. Conspiracy theories, you betcha. Praise Cobra's magic. That's what's up. Yes, magic. Bill, I had a ghost once. No, it makes sense. Stacy says, I have one in the house I live in right now. That is true, Stacy. Wild Bill goes on trips to graveyards and buildings and stuff. Okay, he's into it. Let's see here. Where was the wreckage? There's photos of that wreckage. When people ask me that, I'm like, there's full engines that were lying on the ground outside the Pentagon. They have photography of it on the day and video. Wild Bill will remember when Terrible Tim used to call in. Terrible Tim, the huge conspiracy guy that said the kids from Sandy Hook were at the Super Bowl in a parade after they supposedly were all killed at Sandy Hook. And one day, it was a 9/11 show. And he called me at the end of the show, and I did a post show with him of an hour and a half. And he kept trying to poke holes in 9/11. And I was, well, ask Wild Bill. I was like, no. And then I said, have you read the official report? No, I haven't read it. All right, well, you're supposed to be the big expert. I don't believe anything that's in it. How can you believe what's in it if you haven't read it? Well, no, I think it's all. And I'm like, even if you don't believe it, you should read it so that you can dispel all their assertions. See, it's just, there should be 2 holes for the engines. Why? Why, if the front of the plane has disintegrated, would the structural integrity at that speed, you realize how close that thing was to the ground also. That thing starts to break up, those engines are going to hit the ground. The engine is farther back than the nose. I could go on and on and on. It did not hit. It crashed in front of. It technically did crash, like not too much in front, but in front. Praise Cobra's magic, but for God's sakes, don't drink his mead. You're brainwashed. I know. I'm one of the sheeple. With over here with all the actual facts and evidence. Sorry. Waco. I thought it was what a cookout, but Waco, I don't think there's any controversies there. They attacked that building and they threw incendiaries in there. There's infrared photography of that. Nope, the grass was perfect. Oh, please. Come on. Oh, let's just see here. There's too many. All right, I don't know if you guys are going to be. Well, I'm going to make myself tiny. See how tiny I'm going to make myself. And then I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. Share that right there. Boom, shakalaka. What have we here? What's that thing over to the left? Huh. That's a big chunk of the engine. I could do this all day. I just choose not to. I mean, come on, man. It's... Yeah, you want to talk to me about, did they know these things were going to happen? Did they, how did all these guys who were on no-fly lists just walk onto these planes? Hey, I'll talk to you about that all day. I'm not saying that's what happened, but there's some legitimacy there. But they took everybody from the plane that hit the Pentagon, and they just executed them on an airfield out in Ohio, please. Let's see here. And a guy who failed flight school is able to control a huge plane at those speeds close to the ground with perfect precision. Okay. Well, I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but they didn't. those guys were quite upfront about, we don't want to learn how to take off. We don't want to learn how to land. And you can actually go online. If it motivates you, you can go online and you can be on that plane from takeoff to hijack to crash. They've got the simulators online. These guys were not skilled pilots. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that the Pentagon is the largest office building in the world. Hitting it might not be that difficult if you have been to flight school, which they were. Didn't want to know how to land. Didn't want to know how to take off. Just want to know how to fly. Oh, it's Brett, the fireman guy. The Oklahoma bombing. Oklahoma bombing, if you really look at the initial reports, there is a case to be made. And I'm not saying I believe it, but there is a reasonable argument that someone who was helping Timothy McVeigh got away that they've never found. Zombie Will Stacy, they had to aim for a big 5-sided building. Terry Nee says, we're just C-18 locker aliens waiting for someone to open it. Do you guys, the thing that gets me is there are actual things that are proven fact that can make a person go, whoa, something's going on here. And I'll give you one right here. Why did they keep the files closed on Martin Luther King, Robert F. Kennedy, and JFK? They had the opportunity, I believe it was in 1978, I want to say, to open up those files. And they chose to keep them closed. I think it's either 75 years apiece for MLK and RFK and 100 years for JFK. Now that makes me go, what's going on here? Why wouldn't you just open up those files? That's the stuff that I'm talking about that makes me, hey, whoa, that's a thing. That's a real thing. That's a UFO saucer, Tom. What do we got? 6 minutes here? Wow, it's really flown by. Flight simulations, yes. That should have been a red flag when they weren't interested in taking off or landing the plane. You'd think, wouldn't you? Unfortunately, I have to go. It's time for Final Jeopardy. Say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. Those photos are from a movie studio, Tom. Oh, no, they're Photoshopped. 9:10, Rumsfeld announces Pentagon is missing $2.3 trillion. Next day, plane hits the accounting department. Nothing suspect there. We didn't land on the moon on the first landing. Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. Secret Lives of Timothy McVeigh is supposed to be a good book. JFK, I know some stuff on that one. Oh, I do too. Is it because they all had a dream? Well, there is something to be said for every time somebody wants to uplift the population, they get done away with. How long did they seal the files on JFK? Let's see here. I'm trying to find out the 1992 following the, okay, I don't care about that. That Oliver Stone movie is nothing but fabrication, by the way. Okay, so 3,500 documents, the majority of which are held by the CIA, remain unpublished or published with redactions. They deliberately kept them sealed on all three of those events. That, to me, says we're hiding something. What was the deal with those dancing Israelis? I don't know what you're talking about, but they're allowed to dance. Come on. Look, there are a bunch of paranormal things, conspiracy things. You'd be stunned at how much I believe in them. But there's a lot of them that I go, sorry. No. The whole thing about them putting thermite in the buildings in 9/11. Well, they were working. The workers were there the day before. Do you know how much time it would take and access it would take to put thermite in 110 stories of 2 buildings? I'm sorry. I am sorry. Don't trust Big Brother. Tom, those weren't humans who came back from the moon. Just saying. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. Well, I'll tell you what. Just because you believe it's true doesn't mean you can prove it. When you can prove it, I'll believe it. Till you can prove it, we're all just dealing in opinion. That's just the reality of it. Sorry. Are we the baddies? Here's one for you. For years, the Gulf of Tonkin. People said, oh, that's a hoax. That didn't really happen. No, it didn't. No, we now know the Gulf of Tonkin was just a trumped up thing that happened to get us into the Vietnam thing much deeper. Totally. We know this for a fact. Government admitted the whole thing. You know, that's something that's been proven that I believe. You know, we can agree to disagree, of course. It's nothing to me if you believe in conspiracy theories. Nothing at all. And I will add this. They're fun. They are fun. Jack the Ripper. Which person was Jack the Ripper? Which person was Zodiac? I love that stuff. Oh, man. The serial killers. I've watched every documentary there is about those guys. Every single one. BTK, all of them. You know, Green River, all of them. H.H. Holmes, all of them. But it's fun. It's interesting. You know? I'm not saying it's not. Believe what you want. I don't care. Do you remember when the FBI bombed the World Trade Center in the 90s? I remember them being bombed. I didn't know the FBI had done that. Did someone say conspiracy theories? Yes. Ripper and H.H. Holmes is the same person. Everyone forgets the USS Maine. Exactly. If you really want to get the United States in a war, attack one of our ships. Here's a conspiracy theory that no one has solved. What in the hell is that thing on Stuttering John's finger? I keep calling it barnacle finger. I'm a little disappointed that that phrase has not caught on. Just a little disappointed there. But that would be something. Let's get to the bottom of that, shall we? Rico today, they showed some clips from July, August. Let's see, 6 is June. So July of last year, just about 8 months ago, and his finger was fine. And now he's Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. I mean, that thing's, Suk says he's growing an abalone. You know? Time Cube is the best conspiracy, no contest. I used to love AM Coast to Coast. What was John Teeter, the guy that was supposedly from the future and all that? That stuff fascinates me. Tom, it's Tofi. Google it. Okay. That's where he keeps his magical pixie dust. That's where he keeps his resume. I just want to drain it. It needs to be drained. What about, Harp or the Montauk Boys? Or, I could go, AM Coast to Coast, man. That was the, here's the one. If any of you guys have a line to Shawnee, and Stacy, I don't know if you know about this one, Stacy, but you need to look into this one because this is one that I'm into because there's verifiable things about it. Okay, the Montauk Project. Yes, that's a huge one. Missing 411. David Pallades. Missing 411. It is highly suspect to me that the National Park Service has no database of all people who have been killed or disappeared in their parks. That's really suspect. Okay? And some of the stories of these people that have disappeared and then been found defy logic. You know, a toddler goes missing for 2 days and they find him 11 miles away over a mountain and terrain he could never have navigated. And the same with humans. Missing 411, that is some stuff now. Something's going on there. When they find these people, all their bones have been shattered and all this other stuff. I mean, it's... All right? So I'm with you there. But only because there's so much quantifiable, verifiable, not rumor, not innuendo, not an old story from a newspaper, real information about that. Sunday says, have to run out early. Thanks, Tom. Heck of a show. Sunday, Jenna, so good to see you. I'm so into Missing 411. I am too. I can't get enough of it. Incidentally, when I first found out about Missing 411, where was I living? At about 10,000 feet in the mountains of Utah. And regularly hiking and climbing on the top of mountains and all that other stuff. That's... Uncle Jack says, I have way more questions. Terry says, what about aliens seeded humans on Earth? Well, you're talking about Chariots of the Gods there. And Chariots of the Gods was one of the very first sort of, all those books just were so incredibly popular, you know. Toddlers are humans too, Gully. I know. I'm just saying a toddler can't go missing and then 2 days later be found 11 miles away, but not just 11 miles, like over a 7,000-foot mountain. That doesn't make any sense. Bring a gun when you go hiking, buds. Hey, Fishman, when I was in Utah, unless I was in the bathroom or sleeping, I was packing. Physically impossible for him to do it. Most bodies are found where they already looked. There's a whole bunch of things about Missing 411. There's attributes that dogs, they go missing around other people. They don't just go missing by themselves. They're in a group of people. They frequently are found where they did not look. They're frequently found in places they could not, should not, or impossible to be. I mean, there was a article that I read, which might have been an excerpt for one of his books, which those books, I don't think they're still in publication. They're super expensive, or at least they were for a period of time. And it gave the commonalities, because he was like, there's no universals here, you know, but there are trends that happen with these things. Missing 411 made me stop going into national parks alone. Well, being around other people, not necessarily. There's two pretty good documentaries. One of them is better than the other that you can see for free on Tubi or Crackle or something about Missing 411. And there are countless YouTube shows and podcasts about it. Pallades is actually pretty good about doing interviews with people. And most of those are relatively long. In other words, they're not a 10-minute thing. They're an hour and a half, 2 hours. And they're really good. They're really good. And Pallades also, he chronicles things. He follows facts. He's building his own database. I mean, he, you know, and he always keeps going, I don't know what's happening here. I got no dog in this fight. I'm documenting this. I'm saying something's going on. So, you know, don't get me started on Sasquatch, please. Just don't. You're not going to like what I have to say about it. You guys all know that Patterson-Gimlin is fake, right? You know, that's just the truth, right? That's been proven. You know that, right? They admitted it. You know that, right? And then they took it back. You know that, right? And some of the things you see where they say it's a Sasquatch body and they show it on YouTube, it's laughable. It's laughable. Uncle Jack, bodies found in places near bodies of water. Bodies were examined, found to have broken bones and injuries consistent with falling or being dropped with a considerable height. Yes, bones just shattered, not broken, shattered. Terry says, I think my wife is an alien. Help. Brett says, TG, what firearm were you packing in Utah? Glocks. Well, of course, I always have my Beretta 21A, Glock, either 34, occasionally a 17, but not very often, a 23 or a 43, 43X sometimes. My 1911, naturally, and then for a long weapon, I'm an SKS guy. David Pallades, look up. Yeah, look that up, man. Loch Ness. Loch Ness is not real. Sorry. Not real. If Loch Ness is real, that thing's been dead since the 30s. They've done so many sweeps of that thing, it's not even funny. Let's see here. That was the giant that lives in the clouds that shattered the bones to make his bread. V500. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they found some of these people in positions and in states of being disrobed that they couldn't be in and stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's just a little creepy. It's just a little creepy. I don't think there's another show going on right now, by the way, or I'd have been out of here. But I will say this. I'm glad that Shawnee is doing that show. I'm glad that so many people like it, are into it. I did correctly predict that he would get about 10 times the viewers that I do. No conspiracy there. What in the hay? Whew. All right, I don't want to freak anybody out, but an emergency vehicle just went by here with all of its lights on, but no sirens. I don't want to get maybe I ought to dummy up a little bit. Let's see here. MK Davis has a hell of a story about Patterson-Gimlin film and the real story behind it. Yeah, there's a real story behind it. My brother has some DVDs about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, where there's some other not true video, and I do have to admit, the first time I saw that video, it creeped me out like crazy. There's one where it's running across like some open country. And of course, the people were far away and they had to zoom in. And but once they did there's things like math where they can go, okay, well, here's the actual size and, all that stuff. Yeah, finding bodies with the clothes put on backwards. It's just some weird stuff, man. They know, Tom. Turn on the Faraday cage. I often wonder if I should put a Faraday cage around my engine of my car. Just in case a nuclear explosion happens, I can still drive it. So I think about some of that stuff. But there's stuff that I go, it's like the Bermuda Triangle. They've done analysis before where if you look at that particular area and you take any other similar area over open water with the same amount of square footage of land and spaced out stuff, there's no difference there of incidents of aircraft going down than there are anywhere else, all that being said, there are certain things, and I've mentioned some of them, that I go, hey, man, so don't think I'm a complete, but there's some of them that are just like, You people need people like me. You do. Because if I'm sitting there trying to poke holes in things and I can't, well, then you're on your way, aren't you? You're welcome. You're welcome. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Don't hate me because I have a Spider-Man goalkeeper jersey. Do you know there's actually a theory behind this stupid goalkeeper jersey that when a shooter is dribbling the ball and they look up, that because this is so right here, it will draw their attention and they will be more likely to shoot the ball closer to me than the corner of the goal? That's what they say. I bought it because it looked cool. And I thought, well, I could wear that to a party and be the kooky guy. Steffi says, Tom is friggin' cool. Thank you, Steffi. Thank you. As are you. As is everybody in this room. You guys are the chunkiest people on earth, as far as I'm concerned. You are. You're wonderful. Like, share, subscribe. It don't cost you nothing. Begged for likes last show. We didn't really get that many. The preferred way to watch this program is on YouTube, but watch it wherever you want. If you want to go to paypal.me, Tom Gully Show, and a little something for the cause, I won't be mad at you. It's been a few weeks. There's Patreon. It's all in the bottom of the thing here. I think it's on Facebook and I know it's on YouTube. There's all the social media and all the various Tom Gully, all that stuff. Part of the problem may be I don't do a very good job articulating any of that. There's stuff in places for things. Oh, God. I'm more interested in like Elizabeth Bathory. I don't know if any of you know who she was, but she was royalty over in Europe, and man, oh man. I don't think she was a vampire, but boy, did she like blood. She really liked torturing people and things. So anybody got anything else? If not, I'm gonna close down these phone lines. Blood facials, yes. Terry Nee says, Tom, I'll send you my manifesto instead of PayPal. Well, anybody who has a manifesto, bathed in blood to stay young. Boy, didn't she, though. Uncle Jack says, I'll be delving into paranormal and weird very soon, doing a serious show, unlike my normal nonsense with the guest. Yeah, Uncle Jack's got a show, Uncle Jack's Jack Shack. Check that out. I can't. I've been so busy lately. It's insane. That's okay, Jack. I figured it out. I translated it in my own head. All right, I'm closing this. Good to see Joey C doing his walks. I like his walk and talking show. It's a pretty good show. But I thought that producer Joe today did such a masterful job of putting the package together. I was laughing so hard. It was just great. I haven't been able to watch much Dabbleversey things lately. I saw something Husey did. Let me tell you something else. That Lemme chick, I do not like the BYB show. I don't like most of the people on it. There's one person in particular I think is just a complete waste of humanity. But that Lemme, the way she dismantled Stuttering John, the amount of poise that she had, and she was on the Husey show that I saw today, and she didn't get to talk very much, but I was just like, that girl rocks. Absolutely rocks. And that's the way to do it, because whether you're a guy or a girl, the fact that he was pervy to her, I think, offered more opportunity. But man, oh man, was she awesome. When she just took him apart with facts and reality, and that, it was amazing. I really enjoyed that. Terry Nee says, Uncle Jack and Tom are body snatchers, in my opinion. I think it's more likely we have been snatched by the body snatchers, and we are actually the duplicates of our original selves. Free beer and hot wings. Stephanie, hey, the hot wings. Same here, Tom. So damn busy, I don't have time to prep. I hear you. Me neither. The frog is the best. Lemmy is cool. Gosh, was it totally cool. Uncle Jack expressing one of his pastimes. What the hell just happened over here? Okay. So there, I got nothing else. If you guys got nothing else, I think it's time to put a pin in this one. I already closed the phone line, so you know. I guess, let's see, Uncle Jack's got a show. He's in the room. I think I think Stacey Allen should get her own show, frankly. She wants to co-host with Shawnee. I think that would be really smart for Bobby Franks and her and Shawnee to host that show together. I think that would be really smart. Reverend Wild Bill appears on 9,000 shows. Terry Nee just supports all the shows, which is probably the best thing. Anybody else in here got a show I can plug for being here? Well, we just have a lot of people. Oh, Chris Abels was here earlier. Of course, he's got a show tomorrow night, 8 p.m. And of course, tomorrow night we'll be talking to Trevor Garner about being sued by Tom Likas, which was a whole thing. Zombie appears on the Trevor Garner show. So yeah, that's about it. Like, share, subscribe. And with all that being said, I always forget to tee up this thing. There we go. It's SZA, not SZA. There you go. All right. With all that being said, till next time, we'll see you next time.